Pasadena police say a so-called horseplay incident between two police officers led to one being injured.
Two officers were allegedly playing with their guns when one went off. In newly released dashcam video, as one officer is pulling into the Pasadena Police Department garage, another officer at the back of his patrol SUV pulls out his gun and points it, seemingly jokingly, at the officer pulling in. The officer pulling in then pulls out his gun, again seemingly jokingly, but the gun fires. The bullet went through the windshield and hit the first officer in the shoulder. It happened last September, but just now has become known publicly. The chief calls it horseplay or failing to follow safety rules. The officer who was shot has recovered. The chief says the officers involved were disciplined. Alex Stone, ABC News.
Severe storms once again targeting the Midwest today. Michelle Franzen, ABC News.
A small business affirmation from Progressive. Plumbers, today will...
This is the News Radio KONP Noon Report.
Todd Ortloff from the KONP News Center. Here's a look at what's happening on this Thursday, June 11th. The 28-year-old Port Angeles man has been sentenced to just over 23 years in prison for the 2024 murder of his roommate. Marquise Haggins-Moore pleaded guilty in March to second-degree murder with a firearm enhancement in the shooting death of Rebecca Rule. He was sentenced yesterday in Clallam County Superior Court. According to court documents, Haggins-Moore had brought two teenagers to Rule's Whidbey Avenue home in September of 2024 and asked her to keep the noise down while they slept. Prosecutors say an argument later broke out when Rule asked Haggins-Moore and the children to leave. Haggins-Moore later told relatives he didn't remember what happened, only that he had emptied the clip on her. Rule was shot 10 times. Investigators say Haggins-Moore turned himself into Tacoma police the next day. More than 200 new Washington laws take effect today, covering everything from health care and elections to gambling and public safety. Among the most significant changes is a new assessment on health plans that are sold through the Washington Health Benefit Exchange. State officials estimate it will generate about $10 million a year to help fund abortion services through the Department of Health grants. Consumers may also notice retailers rounding cash purchases to the nearest nickel. That as the federal government phases out penny production, electronic payments not affected. Other laws taking effect in Washington make impersonating a police officer a gross misdemeanor, prohibits employers from requiring workers to receive microchip implants, and one allows sports betting on Washington college teams at tribal casinos, although wagers involving individual athletes will still be prohibited. Additional measures address housing development, homelessness, student restraints in schools, and tribal consultation on any energy projects. First Fed warning customers about an active fraud scheme targeting business accounts across the region. The bank says scammers are impersonating First Fed employees and calling customers from phone numbers that may appear legitimate on caller ID. The callers claim there's suspicious activity on an account or a transaction that needs verification. Then they attempt to get online banking credentials from the caller. First Fed Chief Credit Officer Kyle Henderson says customers should remember that the bank will never call and ask for usernames, passwords, or any other sensitive login type information.
This most recent variety that banks in the area are seeing is really just attempting to get people to give over their own online banking credentials. Banks have your online credentials. We would never ask someone for that. Anytime someone's soliciting information from you, we just always advise people to delete those or hang up and then reach out directly, either by calling us or going directly to our website.
More news after this.
Losing a loved one is overwhelming. Your mind and your heart shut down. That's where Drennan & Ford Funeral Home and Crematory comes in. They took the burden off my family's shoulders and guided us through everything we needed to do. No pushy sales tactics or unanswered questions. They just held our hands and took care of everything we asked. That's why I will always recommend Drennan & Ford for end-of-life decisions. They handle the hurt like no one else can. Call 360-457-1210.
Looking for the perfect place to enjoy your next chapter? Come tour Lavender Meadows in Sequim, featuring beautiful, affordable homes for active 55-plus living. Enjoy modern, low-maintenance living, plus pickleball courts, a community garden, and clubhouse gatherings.
Hey folks, this is Courtney over at Lavender Meadows. We hope to see you soon to check out our 8 new floor plans. Don't forget to ask us about our lease-to-own options.
Come home to Lavender Meadows. Visit lavendermeadowsmhc.com.
Congratulations, class of 2026! You did it! You survived group projects, pop quizzes, and at least one class where nobody knew what was going on. Now you've got a diploma, a future ahead of you, and your own laundry to do. Go out there, make mistakes, make memories, and maybe answer your parents' texts once in a while. We're so proud of you.
Congratulations from Peninsula Bottling, Olympic Game Farm, and Fogtown Coffee.
In other news, state agriculture officials are once again surveying Washington for invasive insects, weeds, and plant diseases, and Clallam County is in that effort. Crews are setting traps for more than 130 invasive species, including Japanese beetles, apple maggots, and spongy moths. Now, the spongy moth is of particular concern because it has been found in Port Angeles in the past, and it can cause some widespread damage to forests and landscaping. Carla Salp with the Washington State Department of Agriculture says many of the moths arrive unintentionally from overseas.
Some people might know it as the gypsy moth. That's an older name for it. But last year, there were quite a few interceptions at the ports. And so they're doing kind of a special emphasis, you might say, on some of the areas that have ports, including Port Angeles. We do normally trap up here, but there's going to be even more traps that people might see around this year.
Residents may notice the familiar triangular traps hanging from trees and posts around our area.
I think the color they're using this year is green, but sometimes they're orange or tan. They can be various colors. The color doesn't really matter because they have a pheromone lure that is specific to the spongy moth that attracts them in. And the male spongy moth can smell that lure from like over a mile away.
Self says people should leave the traps alone unless they've been damaged or knocked down. If that happens, there's a phone number on the trap that can be used to report the problem.
Just want to remind your listeners that if they ever do see something that they think might be an invasive species, the best thing to do is snap a photo and report it to the Washington State Invasive Species Council, and then someone can take a look at it and see if it is something that we should be concerned about.
The Port Angeles Farmers Market marking a major milestone this weekend. The market celebrates its 25th anniversary Saturday at the Gateway Transit Center with some special activities, family events, and a fundraiser to support local food access programs. Market manager Ashley Smith says one feature of the celebration is a market-wide scavenger hunt.
They will find 2 bands. We'll have bands all day long. We'll have fiddlers in the morning and wump in the afternoon. We will also have special treats provided by Sunflower Taste Deli and Pan de Amore. We are having a kids table with a kids food lab so kids can get their hands on our fresh local food, looking through a microscope at flowers, fresh vegetables, doing some experiments, as well as a fun scavenger hunt with a prize from one of our vendors at the end if kids complete the scavenger hunt.
The market also celebrating its recent transition to nonprofit status with a raffle that'll benefit programs that help low-income families purchase fresh food. Through the market's SNAP matching program, qualifying shoppers receive an additional $1 for every $1 they spend on eligible food purchases. Smith says those programs can make a real difference for local families.
For every $10 they spend using their SNAP EBT card, Port Angeles Farmers Market gives them a $5 voucher, unlimited, for use at any of our meat vendors, eggs, fish, for use only at Port Angeles Farmers Market. And that program has allowed so many of our community members to access local, healthy protein grown directly by our producers here in Clallam County.
That anniversary celebration runs 9:30 a.m. till 2:30 p.m. again downtown Port Angeles at the Gateway Center. Washington's Child Welfare Agency will pay $80 million to settle lawsuits involving 2 children who had suffered catastrophic injuries after state caseworkers allegedly failed to remove them from unsafe situations. The settlement includes $45 million for 6-year-old Bubby Strode and $34 million for his younger sister, Matilda. making them the largest and second largest pretrial payouts in the history of the Department of Children, Youth, and Families. According to the lawsuits, repeated reports of abuse and neglect were made before Bubby was severely burned in a fire at 9 months old, and before 4-year-old Matilda suffered permanent brain injuries while left alone with her biological parents, despite a court order that prohibited it. The children, who have since been adopted by a Lakewood family, require lifelong medical care. The state did not admit wrongdoing as part of the settlements, which also dismissed the lawsuits against the agency and the individual case workers. This is News Radio KONP.
Gas prices are out of the sky high. I mean, they're just ridiculous.
If it wasn't for food banks, I really don't know what I would do.
I don't have health insurance.
You know, during my lifetime I've worked, I really never got a pay raise. Meanwhile, billionaires and corporations are getting rich.
They tell us to be afraid of our neighbors because of who we voted for or where we were born.
But we are not falling for it.
Blue Collar, we have each other's backs. BlueCollarUnity.org.
Paid for by Firelands Workers Building Community Power.
This afternoon on the Todd Ortloff Show, we'll talk about the Recompete project in Clallam County with County Commissioner Mike French and the Recompete coordinator Molly Pringle, and a business bit with our small business guru Kevin Holt.
Join us at 1 o'clock Monday through Thursday for the Todd Ortloff Show on KONP. Information to keep you engaged in your community with the people and organizations who keep it running. Sponsored by Dan Shappy, Farmers Insurance.
This message is brought to you by the law firm of McMiniman and McMiniman, Port Angeles and Sequim.
Hi, this is Amy Bundy with the Sheriff's Office. It's graduation time, and that means celebrating. It's especially important right now to remind our graduates to drive responsibly, and of course to never, ever get behind the wheel after drinking or using marijuana. Remind them that it's okay to call you. Assure them that they are doing the right thing, and we could never be disappointed in them for making safe choices.
The law firm of McMiniman and McMiniman, protecting you and your family since 1985.
Here's your News Radio KONP forecast, brought to you by All Weather Heating and Cooling. 63 this afternoon under clear skies, winds out of the northwest, 8 to 15 miles per hour. Tonight, 48. Tomorrow, high of 67. Clear skies and dry, Saturday and Sunday, mid-70s, Saturday, upper 70s by Sunday. Looking further out, 81 Monday, 75 Tuesday, and 68 on Wednesday. Another look at the short range. We should top off around 63 today. Lows level off around 48 tonight. High of 67 tomorrow. That's a look at your forecast. I'm meteorologist Paul Trombley. Right now, it's 57 degrees.
Good morning, this is Chris Burnett. We'll begin in New York. The Knicks did the seemingly impossible and overcame a 27-point halftime deficit, trailed by as many as 29 points, to defeat the San Antonio Spurs in Game 4 of the NBA Finals at Madison Square Garden on Wednesday night, 107-106, to take a 3-1 series lead as it heads back to Texas.
Harper about to receive the ball. He's got it. Sideline left. Inbound over the top. Castle has it, lost it, taken away. The Knicks have done it. The biggest comeback in NBA Finals history. Game 4 of the finals goes to New York. Incredible. And the Knicks are as close to an NBA championship as they've been since 1994, up 3 games to 1.
That call heard right here on ESPN Radio. Shohei Ohtani and the Los Angeles Dodgers led by 5 runs in the 7th inning against the Pittsburgh Pirates. But Ohtani chose not to challenge at least 2 questionable pitches, setting the stage for the Pittsburgh comeback.
And the 0-1. Drive to right center field by Horwitz. To the track. Nearing the wall. Clear the deck. Cannonball coming. It's a Horwitz howitzer. It's a 2-run homer. And the Badland Buccos lead it 9-6. Listen to this crowd at PNC Park.
That call from 93.7 The Fan. Pittsburgh would win the game 9-8. And the Chiefs are adding 2 years to Patrick Mahomes' contract in a reworked deal that ties him to Kansas City through 2033 at a value of $504 million, a value that makes it the first NFL deal ever at over $500 million.
In local sports, the Port Angeles Lefties mounted a late comeback last night but came up short in an 11-9 loss to the Kamloops North Paws. Kamloops built an 11-2 lead through 5 innings, scoring 3 runs in the second, 2 in the third, 4 in the fourth, and 2 more in the fifth. The lefties didn't go away quietly, however, plating 1 run in the seventh, 3 in the eighth, and 4 more in the ninth before the rally fell short. Port Angeles now at 3-8. They wrap up the series in Kamloops tonight.
Swung on. That is ripped right field. Luke Raley racing back. He's at the warning track wall. Grand slam. Jackson Holliday. He's broken this thing wide open. It's 7-0 Baltimore.
Jackson Holliday hit his 3rd career grand slam. Brandon Young pitched 7 scoreless innings, and the Baltimore Orioles beat the Seattle Mariners 7-2 last night, snapping the Orioles' 4-game losing streak. Mariners and Orioles wrap up the series this afternoon on the air at 2:30 here on KONP, brought to you by Leith's Farm Supply and Equipment Sales.
Give me a mountain with lots to do. Give me the sunshine, give me a dew. Give me something simple and true. All I need is sunshine and a cool, refreshing Mountain Dew. So give me my good friends, give me a dew.
Grab some friends and an ice-cold Mountain Dew today.
Mountain Dew.
This is Ed from Leith's Farm Supply and Equipment Sales. Our family has trucked hay to feed the hungry animals in western Washington for 4 generations. In that time, we have built a growing legacy of serving the needs of our customers, and we've never stopped. In 2014, we ventured into the equipment world by becoming a dealer and service provider for Mahindra tractors. Since then, we have partnered with quality brands such as Bad Boy, Aaron's Gravely, LS Tractor, Husqvarna, Snake River Trailers, and now Wacker Noyson Construction Equipment. We have a 3-bay shop where we not only service the brands we sell, but we also work on most major brands including Kubota, John Deere, and New Holland. We carry a wide variety of parts, filters, belts, and fluids. We have a fully stocked hydraulic shop and can build hoses for most machines while you wait. Chainsaw or weed eater needs some TLC, we work on small engines too. We even offer welding and fabrication services. We have been earning the Peninsula's trust for over 25 years with your animal's care. We look forward to earning your trust with your equipment's care too.
News Radio KONP Business.
This is Bloomberg Money Minute. Stocks are gaining and crude oil futures falling as President Trump cancels threatened new strikes on Iran and indicates a deal signing with Iran could be scheduled soon. But shares of Oracle are under pressure. The company is saying spending on AI data centers last quarter was billions of dollars more than it planned for. The U.S. and Canada have delayed opening a new $4.6 billion bridge from Michigan to Ontario that President Trump threatened to block, and that suggests the president's grievances over its cost and control haven't been solved. Be careful if you're dining out over the next few weeks because tipping policy at restaurants may be changing. Food and Wine magazine says some restaurants in cities hosting World Cup matches or near them are automatically adding tips to their bills for now. And that Starbucks Barista Cup was a big hit when it came out just ahead of the holidays, selling out of the bear-themed coffee cup. With the FIFA World Cup tournament kicking off, those Barista Cups today have a soccer-themed cap. Denise Pellegrini, Bloomberg Radio.
Hi, this is Jack Gray from Angeles Furniture. We're turning 107 this year, and we want to thank you for helping us get there. We're celebrating with big sales and big giveaways. We have 4 drawings you can enter. We have a $2,000 in-store credit, a Sealy Posturepedic mattress, a stressless recliner, and a beautiful solid wood Amish bar and stools. That's $10,000 in giveaways. We're here because of customers, and this is our chance to show you just how much we appreciate your loyalty.
If you hear this when you look outside, but hear this when you look around your house, it's time for new window treatments. Lucky for you, the Blind Store by McCrory has you and your windows covered. The Blind Store turns dingy into dynamite, stale into stunning, all at an affordable price and with expert installation. So if your shutters make you shudder, shop the Blind Store by McCrory in Squim, 360-504-3883.
News Radio KONP, traffic and roads.
Let's head up to Clallam Transit Dispatch Center now, and that's where Steve's standing by. He's eyeing the noontime traffic for us. Good afternoon, Steve.
Hi there. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, kind of a busy afternoon out there. Boy, nice and warm, and everybody is out and about today. If you're in the downtown Port Angeles area, you can find quite a bit of traffic making its way through. A little bit of a slowdown through there in places, but overall, not too awful bad making your way through town. If you're on the highway between Port Angeles and Sequim, busy out there as well. Through our construction area there at Lee's Creek and Baker Dip area, that is a little bit of a slowdown, a little congestion through there. But beyond that, or beyond the Morse Creek area anyway, things are moving along pretty smoothly out there. If you're headed out any further, right now, Hood Canal Bridge good to go with nothing scheduled so far this afternoon. State Ferry is also running on time today. West End traffic, we're doing good all the way out to the Forks area. No issues out there. Traffic is moving along at the speed limit. So everybody take care. Enjoy the sunshine. This is Steve reporting live from Clallam Transit for KONP.
Thank you, Steve. Speaking of the sun, sunshine today, maybe the mid-60s this afternoon. Look for tonight to be mostly clear, lows in the mid-40s to lower 50s. Tomorrow, a lot more sunshine and a little bit warmer temperatures into the mid-70s. And Saturday's looking sunny as well with highs in the mid-70s, maybe into the low 80s, and even warmer on Sunday with sunshine continuing. Right now across the North Peninsula, sunny everywhere. Port Townsend's got 61, 66 out west at Forks. Sequim is checking in at 62 degrees now, and out at Fairchild Airport here in Port Angeles, we're at 57 degrees officially.
A better life with Dr. Sanjay Gupta.
Did you know that almost half the vegetables and more than 3/4 of the fruit that we eat in this country come from just one state, California? Yeah, it's true. And according to a new report by the Environmental Working Group, a health advocacy organization, a lot of this produce is tainted with PFAS, which are sometimes referred to as forever chemicals. Why? Well, the EPA says pesticides keep America's food supply safe, abundant, and affordable. And of course, these chemicals are used in every state, not just California. Now, if you are worried, though, about how much you're consuming, the best thing to do is to buy organic produce, if and when you can. Organic or not, you should rinse all fruits and vegetables under running water. Don't use any soap. And as one epidemiologist told us, use a brush on sturdier items like carrots, potatoes, and cucumbers. I'm Dr. Sanjay Gupta, helping you live a better life.
Here's the tale of the daily Medfield. Same old pharmacy, same old bill, but those prices kept rising higher still.
Till the savings Wrangler rode in, cool as can be. Tap Good RX, saving massively.
No plan? Don't matter none. Up to 80% off. Deals are done.
Discounts hitting harder than Ma's chili. Dang. That one little ad does all the rest.
Save time and money on prescriptions.
Check Good RX. Good RX is not insurance.
Hey, this is Lauren. And a little thing I love about the hash brown scramble burrito is that it's going to add the protein that you need. The eggs with those crispy nuggets. It's the ultimate combo.
Hi, this is Maya, and a little thing I love about the hash brown scrambled burrito is that it's packed with protein. Having Chick-fil-A chicken in a breakfast burrito is just phenomenal to me. You have the chicken, you have the eggs, and then you add these hash browns. It's just complete, honestly.
Order the Chick-fil-A hash brown scrambled burrito and Simply Orange Juice on the Chick-fil-A app today. Real guests paid for their testimonials.
Hello, I'm Jerry Stewart, and this is One Moment in America. My dad was a simple man, not a lot of dreams and aspirations, but he constantly worked to teach me 3 key principles to live by. I'll tell you one of these principles after this important message.
Hello, Jerry Stewart here with my Calitrin 5-week update. Before beginning my Calitrin adventure, I was regularly taking pain medicine, mostly for my arthritis. I was always watching for my next dose, and now, with the Calitrin, I wake up without the pain. So what about you? Are you tired of weight loss programs that don't work? Weary of pain relievers that don't relieve? Me too. Now, with Calitrin, I just follow the plan, and it is working. I feel my old self again, healing, energetic, and a much better attitude. How about joining my wife Kelly and me in our quest for a better health? Go now to toploss.com to get your own supply to start a better life. That's toploss.com or call 833-TOP-LOSS. Come join us. Better health is on its way.
My dad wasn't much for words, but there were 3 key principles he taught me, and they all had to do with respect. One of these principles was don't keep people waiting. He said, when you keep someone waiting, you're telling them that their time is worth nothing. He said, it's very disrespectful. I didn't understand until much later in my life that all my dad's key principles had to do with one thing, respect. There's an epidemic in America today, an epidemic of disrespect. What can you do today to make America a better nation? Be respectful to others. I'm Jerry Stewart, and that was One Moment in America.
This is Kevin Murphy with Radio Pacific. We've teamed up with Clallam County Emergency Management and the Port of Port Angeles to help keep you safe in the event of an emergency. With me is CERT First Responder Mac McDonald. Mac, I understand you're here to give a compliment.
That's right. Our residents deserve kudos for being so aware about the risks and dangers of earthquakes or tsunamis that may hit our area. You are learning what to do if the Cascadia subduction zone decided to uncork. You've learned where your tsunami escape route is. You know what to pack into your emergency to-go backpack, and you have one ready. You've done all this and so much more so that you'll be prepared in the event of a natural disaster. So congratulations to all of you for not being complacent.
Well, Mac, we are all working together to keep our residents safe. Search online, CERT Clallam County for preparation resources.
Don't be scared, just be prepared.
Hey everybody, it's summer and vacation time. This is Dale from Wilder RV, and we would love to invite you to stop by and check out a ton of fresh inventory. If you're in the market for a towable trailer, destination trailer, park model, or manufactured home, then now's a great time. We've got awesome choices that will fit about every budget, and our quality brands are loaded with many options, features, and layouts that anybody would love. So stop by today or check us out 24/7 at wilderrvs.com.
Save now on Still battery-powered equipment at Port Angeles Power Equipment. Purchase a qualifying Still A P-Series chainsaw, trimmer, blower, or lawnmower and receive a free second battery with purchase. Get the dependable Still performance you want, plus extra battery power at no extra cost. Visit Port Angeles Power Equipment, 2624 East Highway 101 in Port Angeles. Proudly servicing the Olympic Peninsula for the past 36 years. Offer ends June 30th.
Breaking news at Town Hall. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. President Trump says he has some big news for Iran, that the U.S. will be striking its main oil hub. And we get more of that from Bernie Bennett.
President Trump said, quote, "At some point in the not-too-distant future, we will be taking Karg Island and other oil infrastructure points and assume control of their oil and gas markets, much like we have with Venezuela." The small island off the coast of Iran has the home to a major oil terminal that is considered the country's economic lifeline. Taking the island could choke off Iran's oil exports and provide a platform for the U.S. military to carry out attacks against the mainland. The U.S. could use the island as leverage to compel the Iranians to keep the strait open. Bernie Bennett, Washington.
Damaging storms have been sweeping through parts of the Midwest, disrupting flights at Chicago Airport, knocking out power to hundreds of thousands of customers. The National Weather Service says it received more than a dozen reports of tornadoes as of last night across northern Missouri, Iowa, Kansas, and Illinois. The storms then moved into the Chicago area in the afternoon, causing some downed trees and some building damage along the way as well. On Wall Street, things are booming. The Dow was up by 844 points, NASDAQ up 473. Elon Musk's rocket company SpaceX makes its debut on Wall Street Friday with an initial public offering.
In an IPO, banks and other financial institutions act as intermediaries. They buy the stock being issued by the company and then sell it to the public. Before that happens, they gauge investor interest to determine a final offering price. The stock will be listed with the ticker symbol and trade publicly at that price. The price typically fluctuates higher or lower as investors determine the company's value. An IPO can bring in a surge of investment that a company can then use to expand, but it's all up to the market.
That is correspondent Damian Troisi. And the producer prices here in the U.S. climbed last month at the fastest rate since 2022. More of these stories at townhall.com.
Eczema, eczema, eczema. So many ads for eczema products. But those fancy TV ads don't mention that those prescription products can cost thousands of dollars. There's a smarter way. It's Exoderm for eczema and dermatitis. Exoderm costs less than $20. Yep, less than $20. You don't need a prescription, and it's available on the first aid aisle of your local store. Exoderm contains the #1 doctor-recommended ingredient in a clean, hypoallergenic cream with no harsh additives or nasty chemicals. Exoderm. Fast, effective relief from the itching and inflammation of eczema. This stuff really does work. Take back control. Heal eczema flares with soothing Exoderm Flare Control Cream. It's on the first aid aisle of your local drugstore, supermarket, and at Target and Walmart too. Exoderm for eczema. Now that's smart.
First Lady Melania Trump launching her Fostering the Future accounts. It's a new financial resource established to empower foster youth. And Laura Winters has more details.
Melania Trump making history, as this is the first time that a First Lady is working with the Treasury Department to set up these accounts for foster children. So far, 23 governors have opted into the program.
Fostering the Future accounts give foster children the same chance for asset ownership and long-term wealth building as every other American child.
Laura Winters reporting.
The Supersized World Cup event has finally arrived. It's the world's biggest sporting event always, but this year's tournament takes it to new heights, hosted by the U.S., Canada, and Mexico. The tournament was expanded to 48 teams this year. They'll be playing in 16 stadiums in a record 104 matches, the first of them today in Mexico. Breaking news and analysis at townhall.com. President Trump claims the U.S. has been sneaking oil through the Strait of Hormuz.
Asked Wednesday about a report that rising gas prices had pushed consumer inflation to 4.2% in May, President Trump had a surprising response.
I love the inflation.
Suggesting prices would plunge back as soon as the Iran war ends, and then revealing,
we've been taking out millions of barrels of oil. Nobody knows it.
Secretary Pete Hegseth later telling reporters,
we've been protecting commercial shipping going through the Strait of Hormuz, as the president announced, to the tune of over 100 million barrels.
There was no immediate confirmation of that figure, which roughly equals 5 days of oil shipments before the war began. I'm Ben Thomas.
Visa teaming up with OpenAI will embed its payment network into ChatGPT, allowing the chatbot to shop and complete transactions for its users. More on these stories at townhall.com.
This is the News Radio KONP Noon Report.
Todd Ort live from the KONP News Center. Here's a look at what's happening on this Thursday, June 11th. The 28-year-old Port Angeles man has been sentenced to just over 23 years in prison for the 2024 murder of his roommate. Marquise Haggins-Moore pleaded guilty in March to second-degree murder with a firearm enhancement in the shooting death of Rebecca Rule. He was sentenced yesterday in Clallam County Superior Court. According to court documents, Haggins-Moore had brought two teenagers to Rule's Whidbey Avenue home in September of 2024 and asked her to keep the noise down while they slept. Prosecutors say an argument later broke out when Rule asked Haggins-Moore and the children to leave. Haggins-Moore later told relatives he didn't remember what happened, only that he had emptied the clip on her. Rule was shot 10 times. Investigators say Haggins-Moore turned himself into Tacoma police the next day. More than 200 new Washington laws take effect today, covering everything from health care and elections to gambling and public safety. Among the most significant changes is a new assessment on health plans that are sold through the Washington Health Benefit Exchange. State officials estimate it will generate about $10 million a year to help fund abortion services through the Department of Health grants. Consumers may also notice retailers rounding cash purchases to the nearest nickel. That as the federal government phases out penny production, electronic payments not affected. Other laws taking effect in Washington make impersonating a police officer a gross misdemeanor, prohibits employers from requiring workers to receive microchip implants, and one allows sports betting on Washington college teams at tribal casinos, although wagers involving individual athletes will still be prohibited. Additional measures address housing development, homelessness, student restraints in schools, and tribal consultation on any energy projects. First Fed warning customers about an active fraud scheme targeting business accounts across the region. The bank says scammers are impersonating First Fed employees and calling customers from phone numbers that may appear legitimate on caller ID. The callers claim there's suspicious activity on an account or a transaction that needs verification. Then they attempt to get online banking credentials from the caller. First Fed Chief Credit Officer Kyle Henderson says customers should remember that the bank will never call and ask for usernames, passwords, or any other sensitive login type information.
This most recent variety that banks in the area are seeing is really just attempting to get people to give over their own online banking credentials. Banks have your online credentials. We would never ask someone for that. Anytime someone's soliciting information from you, we just always advise people to delete those or hang up and then reach out directly, either by calling us or going directly to our website.
More news after this.
Hey everybody, Todd here at Price Ford. And backed by popular demand, Ford has come out with the employee pricing for everyone. And I'm not talking about what I would pay as an employee. I'm talking about what the corporate employees pay. You can't buy a new Ford for less money. This offer covers almost every vehicle in the Ford lineup. So if you're in the market for a new Ford, hurry down to Price Ford right on Highway 101, right next to Walmart in Port Angeles, and we'll have a vehicle waiting for you.
In 1959, Mount Pleasant IGS opened their doors. The newest neighborhood gas and grocery quickly became the one-stop shop for many. Mount Pleasant IGS is still a favorite. Times may have changed, like 25-cent a gallon gas and 20-cent loaves of bread, but the same hometown country store feel is still there, and their customer service is still top priority. From snacks, drinks, and fresh produce to automotive needs, electrical supplies, and fishing bait, Mount Pleasant IGS is still your one-stop shop.
Gear up for your summer at Brown's. We filled the racks and walls with fun patterns and materials for a day on the town or a multi-day hiking trip. With tons of footwear closeouts, you're sure to find your new everyday or performance shoe. In the market for a new sleeping bag? We've got sales on past season bags and a bunch of new and updated models from Thermarest, Marmot, and Big Agnes. And don't forget to peruse our clearance clothing and take advantage of the extra 10% off. Brown's Outdoor has been family-owned and outfitting the Olympic Peninsula for, forever.
In other news, state agriculture officials are once again surveying Washington for invasive insects, weeds, and plant diseases, and Clallam County is in that effort. Crews are setting traps for more than 130 invasive species, including Japanese beetles, apple maggots, and spongy moths. Now, the spongy moth is of particular concern because it has been found in Port Angeles in the past, and it can cause some widespread damage to forests and landscaping. Carla Salp with the Washington State Department of Agriculture says many of the moths arrive unintentionally from overseas.
Some people might know it as the gypsy moth. That's an older name for it. But last year, there were quite a few interceptions at the ports. And so they're doing kind of a special emphasis, you might say, on some of the areas that have ports, including Port Angeles. We do normally trap up here, but there's going to be even more traps that people might see around this year.
Residents may notice the familiar triangular traps hanging from trees and posts around our area.
I think the color they're using this year is green, but sometimes they're orange or tan. They can be various colors. The color doesn't really matter, because they have a pheromone lure that is specific to the spongy moth that attracts them in. And the male spongy moth can smell that lure from over a mile away.
Self says people should leave the traps alone unless they've been damaged or knocked down. If that happens, there's a phone number on the trap that can be used to report the problem.
Just want to remind your listeners that if they ever do see something that they think might be an invasive species, the best thing to do is snap a photo and report it to the Washington State Invasive Species Council, and then someone can take a look at it and see if it is something that we should be concerned about.
The Port Angeles Farmers Market marking a major milestone this weekend. The market celebrates its 25th anniversary Saturday at the Gateway Transit Center with some special activities, family events, and a fundraiser to support local food access programs. Market manager Ashley Smith says one feature of the celebration is a market-wide scavenger hunt.
They will find two bands. We'll have bands all day long. We'll have fiddlers in the morning and wump in the afternoon. We will also have special treats provided by Sunflower Taste Deli and Pan de Amore. We are having a kids table with a kids food lab so kids can get their hands on our fresh local food, looking through a microscope at flowers, fresh vegetables, doing some experiments, as well as a fun scavenger hunt with a prize from one of our vendors at the end if kids complete the scavenger hunt.
The market also celebrating its recent transition to nonprofit status with a raffle that'll benefit programs that help low-income families purchase fresh food. Through the market's SNAP matching program, qualifying shoppers receive an additional $1 for every dollar they spend on eligible food purchases. Smith says those programs can make a real difference for local families.
For every $10 they spend using their SNAP EBT card, Port Angeles Farmers Market gives them a $5 voucher, unlimited, for use at any of our meat vendors, eggs, fish, for use only at Port Angeles Farmers Market. And that program has allowed so many of our community members to access local, healthy protein grown directly by our producers here in Clallam County.
That anniversary celebration runs 9:30 a.m. till 2:30 p.m. again downtown Port Angeles at the Gateway Center. Washington's Child Welfare Agency will pay $80 million to settle lawsuits involving two children who had suffered catastrophic injuries after state caseworkers allegedly failed to remove them from unsafe situations. The settlement includes $45 million for 6-year-old Bubby Strode and $34 million for his younger sister Matilda, making them the largest and second largest pretrial payouts in the history of the Department of Children, Youth, and Families. According to the lawsuits, repeated reports of abuse and neglect were made before Bubby was severely burned in a fire at 9 months old, and before 4-year-old Matilda suffered permanent brain injuries while left alone with her biological parents, despite a court order that prohibited it. The children, who have since been adopted by a Lakewood family, require lifelong medical care. The state did not admit wrongdoing as part of the settlements, which also dismissed the lawsuits against the agency and the individual case workers. This is News Radio KONP.
Looking for the perfect place to enjoy your next chapter? Come tour Lavender Meadows in Sequim, featuring beautiful, affordable homes for active 55-plus living. Enjoy modern, low-maintenance living, plus pickleball courts, a community garden, and clubhouse gatherings.
Hey folks, this is Courtney over at Lavender Meadows. We hope to see you soon to check out our 8 new floor plans. Don't forget to ask us about our lease-to-own options.
Come home to Lavender Meadows. Visit lavendermeadowsmhc.com.
Olympic Hot Tub has terrific ways to achieve total wellness at home. Saltwater hot tubs, swim spas, saunas, and cold plunges, all waiting for you. See our current specials with exciting savings at olympichottub.com. Better you, better life.
Here's your News Radio KONP forecast, brought to you by All Weather Heating and Cooling. 63 this afternoon under clear skies, winds out of the northwest, 8 to 15 miles per hour. Tonight, 48. Tomorrow, high of 67. Clear skies and dry, Saturday and Sunday, mid-70s. Saturday, upper 70s by Sunday. Looking further out, 81 Monday, 75 Tuesday, and 68 on Wednesday. Another look at the short range. We should top off around 63 today. Lows level off around 48 tonight. High of 67 tomorrow. That's a look at your forecast. I'm meteorologist Paul Trombley. Right now, it's 57 degrees.
Robert Workman's take on sports is next.
It was the biggest comeback in NBA Finals history last night. The Knicks erased a 29-point deficit, defeating the Spurs 107-106 in Game 4 in New York to take a 3-1 series lead. San Antonio came out hot, making 11 of its first 16 three-pointers and led by 19 after the first quarter, 27 at the half, and 81-52 early in the third. But the Knicks chipped away while the Spurs went cold, making it a 15-point game going to the fourth, and finally grabbing the lead on a Jalen Brunson floater with 1:22 left. Then OG Anunoby tipped in Brunson's long miss with 1 second left for the winner.
He just told me I need to get on the glass, offensive glass especially, just use my ability, my size, strength, athleticism to make an impact on the glass, and it happened at the end.
Brunson had a game-high 36 points, Anunoby a career playoff best 33. The previous comeback record was set in 2008 when the Celtics were down 24 before chasing down the Lakers. The Knicks go for the championship clincher in San Antonio on Saturday night. Speaking of comebacks, the Giants trailed the Nationals 9-1 through 7 innings yesterday, then scored 5 times in the 8th and got a 9th-inning grand slam from Bryce Eldridge for an 11-10 victory. The 21-year-old rookie is now the youngest player ever to hit a walk-off grand slam, breaking the record set in 1956 by Roberto Clemente. his granny was an inside the park job. And World Cup 2026 kicks off today with 2 matches in Mexico. That's Thursday Sports.
Hi, this is John Holm, president of Tri-State Roofing, your local and family-owned company covering the entire Olympic Peninsula area. The difference with Tri-State Roofing is we separate ourselves with the quality of products we offer, customer service, including an A-plus rating with the BBB, solid safety plans, and the best labor guarantees around. Call 360-208-2222.
Tri-State Roofing, we got you covered.
In a city of gaslight and secrets, justice has a new face. Port Angeles Community Players presents Miss Holmes by Christopher M. Walsh. When a newlywed receives a chilling anonymous warning about her husband, Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Dorothy Watson are drawn into a case of murder, power, and carefully buried truths. Holmes, brilliant, relentless, impossible to fool. Watson, driven, capable, and determined to be heard. Together, they navigate a London of shadow and invention, where danger hides behind respectability and progress hums just beneath the surface. Inspired by the works of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, Miss Holmes is a bold, thrilling reimagining of the classic detective story, where brilliance refuses to stay silent. Running May 29th through June 14th. Get your tickets now at pacommunityplayers.org. The game is afoot, and this time, it's hers.
Olympic Game Farm is the place for you. Better than the circus or a day at the zoo. There's llamas and there's lions and a race for you. Olympic Game Farm is the place for you. Say hello to a buffalo, stick out his tongue. This place is just amazing for the old and the young. These zebras or a tiger might catch your eye. They've even got a bear who'll wave goodbye. It's so much fun, so bring your dad and your mom. Look us up at onlygamefarm.com.
News Radio KONP Business.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Stocks have been surging. Crude oil futures falling to the lowest we've seen since April. That's after President Trump said he called off the threatened military escalation against Iran. SpaceX IPO getting some positive attention as well on increasing signs of a very, very strong demand for the coming initial public offering. The IPO expected to rank as the biggest ever. Not all's well in Techland, though. Oracle shares declining after the company reported quarterly capital expenses that were higher than estimates. That's raising investor concern about the profitability of the AI infrastructure business. And it looks like Skechers is the big winner in last night's NBA game, with Knicks star OG Anunoby turning the underdog shoe brand into a winner with last night's leap that set up the Knicks' historic come-from-behind victory while wearing a pair of Skechers. The brand just released its first line of technical basketball shoes less than 3 years ago. Denise Pellegrini, Bloomberg Radio.
Let's get a check on the traffic next.
Bad Boy Mowers' legendary reputation for build strength, performance, and value is now available with Bad Boy tractors. From mid-size to subcompact models, powered by 22 to 35 horsepower water-cooled diesel engines, your tractor work just got real. Easy on the farm, the ranch, or even around the house. Bad Boy tractors deliver on power and durability all day, every day.
Leeds Farm Supply and Equipment Sales is your Bad Boy tractor dealer in Sequim.
Bad Boy tractors, work with an attitude.
Your birth experience should feel like yours. Come meet the midwives who can make that happen. Meet Our Midwives is a free monthly open house at Olympic Medical Center, where you can get to know our certified nurse midwives, tour our birth center, and start planning the birth that feels right for you. Join us the first Tuesday of every month at 5:30 p.m. in the Olympic Memorial Hospital Sunroom. Learn more at olympicmedical.org/meetourmidwives.
News Radio KONP, traffic and roads.
Let's head up to Clallam Transit Dispatch Center one last time this afternoon. That's where Steve's standing by watching the traffic for us. Good afternoon, Steve.
Hi there. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, kind of a busy afternoon out there. If you are through the Port Angeles or Sequim area, you're going to find a fair amount of traffic out there right now. Looks like everybody's got a place to go today. So a little slow for going to downtown Port Angeles, both 1st Street and Front Street. Also along Washington Street and Sequim, you're going to find a little bit of congestion. So just be aware of that if you're going to be heading out. If you're on 101 between Port Angeles and Sequim, not too bad. Busy through our construction area at Lee's Creek and Baker Dip. all the way out to the Morse Creek area. But beyond that, things kind of smooth out, and you should be at the speed limit. Beyond the Sequim area, we have a 2 o'clock opening of the Hood Canal Bridge for marine traffic, so expect some delays there. But other than that, state ferries are running on time today. West End traffic, we're looking good all the way out to the Forks area. Light to moderate traffic out there, pretty much the speed limit all the way. So everybody take care, be safe out there. This is Steve reporting live from Clown Transit for KONP.
Thank you, Steve. Weather, sunny. Yeah, the rest of the day today, low to mid-60s. Look for some northwest winds up to 20 miles per hour gusts this afternoon. Mostly clear tonight, lows mid-40s to low 50s. Sunny again tomorrow and a high near 70. Mostly clear Friday night and lows in the low to mid-50s. And then sunny again Saturday, mid-70s to low 80s. Sunday going to get to the low 80s. Especially away from the water on Sunday as the sunshine continues. Right now it is sunny across the peninsula, 61 in Port Townsend. It's 68 now out at Forks, 61 degrees in Sequim, and 57 degrees officially out at Fairchild Airport here in Port Angeles. It is 12:54 now. Well, can story time be just as beneficial to children under the weather as chicken soup? Researchers in Brazil say reading to hospitalized kids reduces pain and stress by fueling certain hormones in the brain. Specifically, reading to kids in intensive care boosts their quality of life. Researchers explain during storytelling something happens that we call the transport of narrative. That is, the child through fantasy can experience sensations and thoughts that transport them momentarily to another world, another place different from the hospital room, and therefore away from the aversive conditions of hospitalization. The study finds that storytelling increases levels of oxytocin, called the love hormone. It also helps reduce cortisol, a hormone that is released during stress. Thanks for jumping on board the noon news for this Thursday, June 11th. Kim Commando's Consumer Tech Minute is next.
Here's a headline I didn't see coming. Researchers just published a paper asking, is the iPhone birth control? I'm Kim Commando for WebRoot. WebRoot Essentials Antivirus protects your devices without slowing you down. Right now, get 62% off at webroot.com/Kim. Here's what they found. United States birth rates have dropped 22% since 2007, the exact year the iPhone showed up. A second study across 128 countries found the same slump everywhere phones took over. The theory? We're scrolling instead of, socializing. Elon Musk is so spooked, he has fathered at least 14 kids himself, a one-man baby boom. My take, that glowing rectangle is the third wheel in your marriage. It never goes to sleep. So tonight, try one thing. Charge your phone in the kitchen, not on the nightstand. Your relationship, and maybe your family tree, will thank you. Start your day with my free newsletter. It's 5-star rated. 1 million folks love it. Sign up at getkim.com. I've tried a lot of antivirus software over the years, and when something better comes along, I switch. That's why I've moved to WebRoot Essentials. WebRoot Essentials is a cloud-based AI-powered antivirus app that was designed to evolve with today's threats. It's fast, lightweight protection that works across all my devices without slowing me down. If you need another reason to switch, get this. WebRoot Essentials recently ranked #1 in independent Passmark performance studies against 9 other brands, like Norton, McAfee, and even Microsoft Defender. The study found that WebRoot Essentials scans 6 times faster, uses far less memory, and takes up 33% less space on your computer. I've seen the difference WebRoot has made for my devices, and now you can too. My listeners get 62% off WebRoot Essentials at webroot.com/Kim. Get the #1 ranked antivirus protection for just $19 a year right now at webroot.com/Kim. Webroot.com/Kim. Go now while you're thinking about it. Webroot.com/Kim.
I'm John Tesh, and coming up, the key to rebooting your brain and starting fresh is as simple as washing your hands. I'll explain the connection next in today's Intelligence for Your Life Minute.
Hey, Jen, you ready for a girls' night in?
Absolutely. What's on the agenda?
Oh, a little wine, a little JTV.
Jewelry television?
I've never shopped on TV.
Are you kidding? You're missing out on amazing jewelry, gold, pearls, lab-grown diamonds, and totally affordable. And right now, new customers get $25 off their first purchase of $50 or more when you shop on TV or at jtv.com.
25 off? Why are we standing here?
You turn on the TV. I'll grab my tablet.
If you want to reboot your brain and focus on a new goal, then just wash your hands. Researchers at the University of Toronto discovered that hand washing or even using hand sanitizer makes prior goals seem less important and new goals more important. It's because wiping away dirt becomes a physical trigger for a psychological cleanse, making it easier to separate old and new ideas. For the study, people were told why eating healthy is important. Afterwards, some people cleaned their hands, and then everybody was offered either a healthy snack or a chocolate bar. The people who cleaned their hands overwhelmingly chose the chocolate because washing their hands wiped away the healthy advice. They had a clean mental slate and made a fresh decision, even though it was less healthy. So if you're trying to shift your focus, go wash your hands. You'll find it easier to move on. I'm John Tesh with today's Intelligence for Your Life Minute.
This afternoon on the Todd Ortloff Show, we'll talk about the Recompete project in Clallam County with County Commissioner Mike French and the Recompete coordinator Molly Pringle, and a business bit with our small business guru Kevin Holt.
Join us at 1 o'clock Monday through Thursday for the Todd Ortloff Show on KONP. Information to keep you engaged in your community with the people and organizations who keep it running. Sponsored by Dan Shappy, Farmers Insurance.
Peninsula Bottling would like to congratulate the class of 2026. We wish you the best on your new path. Whether you stay right here at home or your plans take you somewhere new, know that we're proud of what you've done so far and what you're sure to pursue. And if you veer off course, remember that life is constantly throwing us curveballs. It will happen, and you'll be better and stronger because of it. Congratulations again from your friends at Peninsula Bottling.
The North Peninsula's news, the North Peninsula's talk. News Radio KONP, Port Angela Squim, a Radio Pacific station.
From ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. At the White House, President Trump signaling a peace agreement with Iran is close.
We have a signing soon, and the documents are in pretty final shape, so we'll see.
A source with knowledge of the negotiations tells ABC News the deal is very close as mediators hit some breakthroughs. The president now backing away from new strikes against Iran. ABC's Stephen Portnoy has details.
What we heard the president say is that he has just spoken to the Prime Minister of Israel, the heads of Qatar, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, will soon be talking to Turkey. He said the Strait of Hormuz will be open. He mentioned that the U.S. has been engaged in what had been secret missions to take ships, oil tankers, out of the Strait of Hormuz, transiting them through to the global marketplace.
Just hours after FISA extension measures failed in both the House and Senate over Bill Pulte's role as acting D&I director, President Trump announced the nomination of U.S. Attorney and former SEC Chair Jay Clayton to lead the agency. ABC's Catherine Falders has more on Clayton's experience.
While he is a highly respected lawyer, he sits at the top of one of the most largest and arguably one of the most important U.S. attorney's offices in the country. The question is, does he really have that much more national security experience than Bill Pulte, the previous person who Trump said was going to serve as acting, does?
Celebrations in New York City over the New York Knicks' last-minute Game 4 win last night against the San Antonio Spurs, leading police to arrest more than 50 people. Outside Madison Square Garden, New York police say due to rowdy fans and picking fights and climbing poles. Authorities say 10 officers were injured. And in Mexico, protests ahead of the World Cup's first match in Mexico City. Demonstrators using the high-profile event to bring light to other causes, including missing individuals. Mexico now co-hosting the World Cup with Canada and the U.S. You're listening to ABC News.
I know that hiring can be challenging. You sort through tons of resumes and you get too many so-so applicants. You're just waiting for someone to match your role perfectly. Well, now there's a place where you can meet them fast. ZipRecruiter.
Need to hire right away. Start your search for strong candidates. The right fit awaits. Build your team. Build it sooner. Meet your match on ZipRecruiter.
Just head to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try it for free, and you're on your way to meeting your match. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. So try it now. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Meet your match on ZipRecruiter. Try it free.
In Texas, near the Mexican border, a driver of an 18-wheeler involved in a pursuit near the border is in custody, now facing charges of human trafficking. That incident ending in a dramatic rescue.
At the checkpoint near Falfurrias, Texas, Border Patrol agents ordered a secondary inspection of a tractor-trailer rig after a canine indicated something suspicious, but the driver sped away. Officers deployed spikes, flattening the truck's tires, but it kept going and, running on its rims, caught fire before stopping.
Hey, let's get some fire extinguishers!
Body-worn cameras captured state troopers' desperate attempts to open the trailer.
Get him out, get him out, get him out!
39 people, thought to be undocumented immigrants, were rescued from the burning trailer while the driver was arrested. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
Vance Bolter, the man charged in the attacks against Democratic lawmakers in Minnesota last June, changed his plea to guilty today in his federal case. Bolter admitted he shot and killed Minnesota State Representative Melissa Hortman and also attempted to kill Senator John Hoffman and his wife Yvette. U.S. Attorney for the District of Minnesota, Daniel Rosen, discussed their decision on the change of plea agreement.
When you have a defendant that is prepared to plead guilty, take consecutive life terms plus to ensure that he never sees freedom again in his entire life. That was an opportunity that we just could not pass up.
Bolter initially pleaded not guilty to 6 federal counts. He still faces state charges in the killings. Michelle Franzen, ABC News.
Hello everyone, this is Caitlin from Airport Garden Center. Did you hear about our latest soil sale? Buy 3 and get the 4th free on Gardner & Bloom Organic, Standard Planting Mix, and Harvest Supreme. Mix and match to make the perfect blend for your raised beds and large planters. Come check out our aquatic plants and pond fish and wander our greenhouses filled with beautiful hanging baskets. Now I will turn you over to Jamie to tell you all about our next event.
Thanks, Caitlin. On Saturday, June 13th, we will be hosting the Rose Show with Tamara Allen, and there will be bouquets on display between 11 and 4 p.m. with a fragrance workshop between 12 and 1. Customers are encouraged to bring their own bouquets to display to compare the rose fragrance profiles to their sweet and spicy elements. We hope to see you there.
Sign up at airportgarden.biz or give us a call at 360-457-8462.
Airport Garden Center, planting knowledge and growing gardeners since 1977.
KONP News brought to you by RE/MAX Evergreen Real Estate. Outstanding agents, outstanding results. 457-6600. A Port Angeles man will spend more than 23 years in prison for the 2024 shooting of his roommate. 28-year-old Marquise Haggins-Moore was sentenced this week after pleading guilty in March to second-degree murder with a firearm enhancement. Prosecutors say he shot Rebecca Rule 10 times during an argument at her Whidbey Avenue home before he turned himself into Tacoma police the next day. State agriculture crews are once again setting traps across Clallam County. It's part of Washington's annual search for invasive species, including the destructive spongy moth, which has previously been found here in the Port Angeles region.
Here's your News Radio KONP forecast, brought to you by Olympic Game Farm. A heat advisory begins at 11 a.m. Sunday and continues until 5 a.m. Tuesday morning. Daytime highs approaching 63 this afternoon under mainly sunny skies, northwest winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Mainly clear skies again tonight, 48, 67 tomorrow, bright sunshine. Sunny skies and dry Saturday and Sunday, mid-70s, Saturday, upper 70s by Sunday. Looking at the long range, 81 Monday, 75 Tuesday, and 68 on Wednesday. That's a look at your forecast. I'm meteorologist Paul Trombley. Currently 59.
It's the Todd Ortloff Show on News Radio KONP. Now, here's Todd.
And welcome once again to the program. I'm going to spend some time in the first half of the show today getting an update on the Recompete program. We've talked about this a lot in the past, and right now there's actually a lot of updates that we'll be sharing with you about this federally funded program that's happening here in an attempt to get some more job opportunities and efforts to get people into jobs locally. So we're going to introduce 3 guests today that are involved with this, but first we're going to Mike French, County Commissioner, and Mike has actually been chair of as the County Commission part of this. I don't know, are you still in that capacity? All right.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we have a 2-county kind of group that has kind of guided this. We selected the projects, we wrote that grant, we argued for it and presented it to the federal government. And now we're still kind of sitting mostly in the background as now we have component project leads that are kind of taking on the work, but we're still sitting there providing that oversight, providing input. And so, we meet on a regular basis, hear updates, and it's still moving.
So real quick, let's go back for those who may have heard this word, the Recompete grant. Tell people what this is.
Sure. So this was a grant program that the federal government put out a few years ago, really was pushed by our former Congressman Derek Kilmer. And what they noted was there's, as a country, we've had a lot of economic growth over the past 40 years, but there's some areas that haven't seen that in the same way. And is there a place-based intervention where we can go into a specific place, look at what their local conditions are, and have targeted investments to try to help them, catch up kind of to the economic growth. And our area, I think, is exactly like that. We had a lot of, downturn from timber and fishing. We have had slower economic growth. And so this was, we got a group of local leaders together and said, here's what we think our local conditions, the projects, the investments that would make sense, that could make a really big impact. Here are the kind of the barriers that we see for widespread economic growth. We proposed that to the federal government, and they came back and said, here's $35.6 million for these investments. Let's see how we do.
And it was only one of 5 across the country,
I think
right?
one of 6.
6, yeah. I guess 5 others besides you, right?
Correct.
Okay. So lay out real quick, and then you can introduce these folks you have in, because they're kind of taking the reins on this, so to speak, in the day-to-day. What that looks like. We've talked about it in the past, but you've kind of have some, I don't want to call them silos, because that's a bad word in this
we call them strategies.
Strategies,
so
all right.
Yeah, we have a couple of big picture. We felt like, our region, we needed job creation to be a real significant part of our investment strategy. We took an industry focus to that and said, let's look at some existing industries, have some targeted investments to see if we can bring them up to speed, including in that is the barriers to job creation, like transportation. So our first bucket, job creation, we also wanted to make sure that we had some navigation element to find people who aren't in the workforce, get them into training programs, get them into, whatever that looks like, and connect them to employers, and help me out.
Sure. So we have 4 strategies with Recompete. So the first is barrier removal. So as he's talking about, it's like if an individual is looking for a job but is struggling to find reliable childcare, or your car is broken down and you're struggling to even get to an interview, we have short-term barrier removal programs to help get people into the workforce. We have job skills training. So we looked at what skills do people need that lead to high wage industries in the area. So we have a focus on the skilled trades in manufacturing, welding, marine tech, and construction. And we're partnering with organizations or educational institutions like Peninsula College and the Northwest School of Wood and Boat Building to provide short-term on-ramps to good jobs to provide those skills. We also have distressed remote and rural
That's the one I was blanking on. Sorry.
There you go. That's okay. Yeah. So Recompete is really unique that we have all 5 tribes in the region in Clallam and Jefferson counties working together on this, along with the city of Forks. So we recognize that in order to really make a difference in our region, we need to be investing in the most distressed remote and rural regions. So places that don't get a lot of investments, typically, say City of Forks, compared to resources that Port Angeles gets, are really driven investment in those areas.
And then the fourth one, of course, is the fourth one was workforce development, right?
Yeah, job skills training, workforce development, kind of using those
same
interchangeably.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we've already broached the subject. Molly Pringle is Recompete Plan Coordinator, and also with us in the studio, Carolyn Edge, who's the Communications and Media Coordinator through all this as well. So, Molly, I'll just toss that up. Where are things right now as we look at the world of Recompete in Clallam and Jefferson counties?
Yeah, we have a lot of exciting updates for you right now. And we want to say that,
there have been a lot of things building in the background because this is a group of 23 community partners, and we're taking on a really ambitious project. And some programs were stood up really quickly, which is wonderful. We've been able to offer some of that obstacle removal wraparound services to folks right away so that they can start building those skills and they can start getting ready to enter the workforce. But some of these other economic development projects have been happening in the background, and they're a heavier lift. And so right now we have some breakthroughs. It's very exciting. Some of those things have to do with job creation, which we know when Recompete was announced, some of the first things people were hearing was, we're going to get a flood of new jobs. It's really exciting. Mm-hmm. People are going to have access to new high-wage, good family jobs. And the job creation projects that have had progress recently include Forks Industrial Park. Mm-hmm. Carolyn, do you want to give an update on that?
Sure. So Recompete Partners have been working with the Forks Industrial Park. They've secured a new tenant that is opening up very soon with a sawmill. That's Riverside Forest Products USA is going to be opening up there. Recompete Partners have been heavily involved in renovating and getting infrastructure set up in order to get that sawmill open. I don't have an exact date for you because I wouldn't want to misrepresent, but they are opening very soon later this summer, and they're going to be hiring 40 to 50 skilled manufacturing jobs or sawmill operations that pay family wages on the West End. So it's going to be a huge boon for that area.
So using this as the example, tell us, kind of take us through how the Recompete partners worked this through, and how this works. What if they weren't there, would this have still happened? I guess might be the question.
Sure. I guess hard to say what might or might not have happened. One thing that Recompete is funding with the City of Forks is an economic development planner. I think I was like, I can't remember his exact title, economic development planner. So a lot of these projects require staffing capacity in order to do these. So when it comes to handling leases, coordinating the PUD to come out and upgrade the electrical infrastructure, et cetera, requires staffing capacity. So that's one thing that Recompete
and that's something the
funded.
City of Forks just didn't, probably having a budget to do out of their own, right? Okay.
Yeah. And then Clallam EDC was heavily involved in that project as well, and they're closely aligned with us in Recompete. They were in our original application for Recompete funding. The EDA basically said, oh, there's this other aligned grant that Clallam EDC could get, and that way so they weren't funded through Recompete. Basically, that allowed us to maximize the funding that was awarded to our Recompete projects. So they secured a separate EDA fund. So they're very closely aligned with our work, even though they're not exactly Recompete funded. But they have also been heavily involved in the Forks Industrial Park renovation. So that's just another partnership that's helped build out that infrastructure.
That's pretty significant. That's 43 good jobs that are out in the Forks area, which that's a smaller part of our area, but that has huge impact out there.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So all right, there's one thing. Molly, back to maybe some other things going on.
I just want to highlight too that we know that folks who live in Forks may not have the manufacturing skills to jump right into a job at Riverside. And one of the interesting programs that Recompete has brought online is a partnership with Peninsula College. And very soon in this summer, they're going to be launching their mobile classrooms. And so they've outfitted some tractor trailers.
Basically semi-truck trailers,
That's
right?
right. That's what it is, yeah. And one of those trailers is going to be parked in Forks. And so folks who live in the area, if they want to gain the skills that they need to work at a place like Riverside, they're going to be able to gain that education and those skills right in their community. And that's what place-based economic development looks like. That's what makes it unique and impactful.
Well, and Mike, I'll go back to you because part of the original discussion, that was a big part, was, there are a lot of people like out in the West End that one of the problems they had was getting to where they could get an education. They had a barrier in getting to Port Angeles, for example, whether it was transportation, childcare, something like that.
Yeah, and in our when we did our workforce development strategies, one of the things that was really important is we wanted to take the education out rather than asking people to come in. And so that's where kind of these mobile classrooms kind of took hold. We are really lucky that we have such a strong partner in workforce development with Peninsula College, who already has a branch in Forks, already has, obviously their main campus here in Port Angeles is in Jefferson County as well. So we had some advantages that we were at least out there a little bit, but this allows us to get that next mile, right? To get,
I mean, literally get out to where some people may be living.
And in some cases, we can also go straight to the employer. So we can take the mobile classroom to the employer where they've maybe they've found the employees, but they need the training. We can say, training's coming to you.
All right. Okay, so I mean that's all just revolving around one thing that's happening with Recompete, and I guess that's one of the things is there's a lot of plates in the air, so to speak, with this too. I don't know. I'll throw it out there. Carolyn, you want to go next, or we?
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
So just highlighting, since we're talking about employers, just some of the resources that Recompete has for local employers. So we kind of have two prongs where we have resources for individuals who are wanting to get into the workforce, and then for strengthening our local businesses. So as you know, small businesses are really the backbone of Clallam and Jefferson County, so a lot of our resources are really geared towards small businesses. One of our partners is EDC Team Jefferson, who is training business advisors. So they have a cohort of, I believe it was 7 that graduated in December, and then another round that they're training right now of 12. These are business advisors who are then going out into the community, both in Clallam and Jefferson counties, offering free business advising to our local businesses. So someone may have had the skills and eagerness to go and start a business, but now that they're in it, they're struggling with their books, they need help with the business plan, et cetera. So we have those trained business advisors who are out in the community offering that business
So you've
advising.
created kind of an army of trainers, essentially is what it sounds like. And
Exactly.
it sounds perhaps more coming. Is that, I understand that? Okay.
They've got a cohort now, another cohort that they'll be doing later
Okay.
this year. I think in total they're going to train 25 business advisors, I believe,
All right.
is the goal. Yeah.
One of the things, I don't know if you are addressing this specifically, but bookkeeping has always been a big issue. Is that also being brought up in the Recompete talks, at least in trying to get people, because that can be a stumbler for a lot of businesses?
Sure. I would imagine it's something that those business advisors are helping local businesses with. If there is a local business who is interested in that, EDC Team Jefferson is the one to connect with and get that assistance looking at the books, business plans, whatever it may be.
In Clallam or Jefferson.
Yeah, I was going to say, now we
Both.
should realize that everything that's happening at a Recompete, even though it might be labeled as a Jefferson thing or whatever, it's an North Olympic Peninsula thing, right? Yeah, it's both counties. Yeah.
And I think we're seeing just so much more interaction between a lot of our, different institutions because of this. A lot more information sharing. We're learning things about Jefferson County that are really useful for us to know. They're learning things about us. Clallam Team EDC Team Jefferson is doing the business advising. That allows Clallam EDC to focus more on the industry stuff. And so it's just, I think it's another big story about Recompete is the different connections that we're making between business, between government, between educational institutions, between, all these different groups.
Molly, I think there's maybe some frustration. This has been going on for a bit, but it's taken a while to stand this up, it sounds like. So you're now getting to a point where you can start talking about things that lay people like me would say, oh, well, that sounds like it's doing something.
Absolutely. Yeah. Another great example is our partners Composite Recycling Technology Center, CRTC. They're a local manufacturer right here in Port Angeles. And with Recompete support, they have been able to expand their partnership with the Makah tribe, producing a highly durable building product using under-harvested coastal western hemlock. And so it's like, hey, we have this huge natural resource. Some of our industry models of the past aren't serving us anymore. Let's get future ready. Let's combine timber and technology and create new products that can serve our local supply chain and benefit our communities. For example, using those products to build houses. And CRTC is doing that. And they bought a second, thermal modification unit is what it's called, with recompete funding, and that's going to boost their production. That's going to bring more product into the community and enough to export as well, and create new jobs to run that equipment. So that's happening now. I know folks may have been waiting for that. They expect the unit to come in the next few weeks.
Now, does that mean more jobs?
It does. It creates jobs. Yeah. Running the manufacturer is very exciting.
And the great thing about CRTC is those are relatively low barrier jobs. They don't require a ton of training. They're good at on-the-job training, and they're paying decent wages.
Okay, so there's that. What else might be bubbling up here in the near future, at least?
Sure. Another project that has taken a little bit of time to get going is the Port of Port Angeles is purchasing 3 barges with recompete funds. So these projects that require procurement are the things that have taken the longest because it requires a lengthy process with the EDA. Some of our partners like CRTC had to go through a waiver process because that unit is only made in Italy. So they had to go through a Build America, Buy America waiver that took almost 18 months, 18 months into the recompete funding to get that going. But a lot of these things are moving now, including the barges, like I was mentioning. So the port has identified and procured their first of 3 barges. This is called a spud barge. Excellent news is that they got it well under budget. It was budgeted for $2 million, and they got it way, way, way under that through the naval surplus in Bremerton. So they've received the barge. It's being outfitted right now. It's called a spud barge.
Yeah, so explain it. Can you tell us what a spud barge will be used for? I don't know. Molly, do you know?
Yeah, I believe that it allows more transfer of goods without having to fully dock at a port. So the spud barge can go out and do
load from shore, basically.
Yeah.
Sort of
Yeah.
thing. Is that right? Okay. All right.
The spuds allow it to temporarily anchor.
Yes.
So it's getting outfitted with the spuds right now, is my
So it's not
understanding.
potatoes, folks.
Not
Speds is not a potato barge. Okay.
I know. So that's huge. And the connection with the port and those barges is that one of the challenges this region has faced is the loss of rail. So this solves some transportation issues, which is going to provide the infrastructure to bring in more businesses to the region who have needs of moving product.
Yeah, and I know that has been a discussion, Mike, that especially from the West End now, because it's tough to get products. Well, use the CRTC thing,
Exactly.
How do you get things from out on the coast into the central part of the peninsula anymore? You can truck it, but even that is difficult.
Yes, and this is, one other thing to point out is this is an idea the port's been working on for years. I've heard them talking about it since I was in the city council. And that's one of the other advantages of recompete is it's taking ideas that were good ideas, but we didn't have necessarily the funding or the strategy to move it forward. And we brought everybody together and said, what are the most important things for us to fix? Transportation is one of those things. We have one highway coming in. It's clogged with tourists. It's where all of our commerce happens. It's where all of our goods and services come. How can we take pressure off it? The port came with the idea. We put the idea out there. The federal government, what I heard actually from the recompete team once we were awarded is they really investigated barging and we're like, does this really make sense? They did their due diligence and they said this one makes sense. And so that's $6 million for an idea that the ports had on their idea list for 10 years probably, and we're now seeing it come across the finish line. So it's really exciting.
All right. So we'll start seeing that barge in operation soon, it sounds like, right? Okay. Anything else short-term coming up besides barges and special lumber?
Those are the big things. It's really exciting to see all of these things moving at once. We have a couple of really big job creation projects, the workforce training with Peninsula College. These are projects that have been a long time in the making, and they're all happening this summer, pretty much. They're all coming online.
And I think there was kind of there was a sense of discouragement, I'll put that in quotes, a few months ago when you gave a report to the county commission, actually. And I said, well, and there was it didn't look like there was grand job creation or anything happening with that. But I know there was a caveat in that this was really at the beginning of things. So I guess the second question is, you got a timeline, right, with this. So explain a bit, the pressures of that, or is there pressure of that, Molly?
Yeah, there is. 5 years is kind of the longest, shortest time, and we're already 18 months into it. Yeah. But what we know about this is it's a pilot program. We're trying new things that have never been done, and this is going to take time to learn and respond to the community need. And so, when we think about who are those other recompete partners who received funding across the U.S. and in Puerto Rico, we just met with them in Washington, D.C. with a lot of support from the EDA, and we're right on track with them. And there have been some rural or some economic development initiatives kind of like Recompete in the past. And folks who have succeeded through those programs have also affirmed, you're right on track. And we're moving things forward, and I think you're seeing that now. So we're feeling optimistic despite some of these headwinds.
Right. Yeah, well, like anything new, it takes a bit, right? So, yeah, Mike.
And then, I would say from the coalition's perspective, last June, I believe, we had a Beyond Recompete convening that was organized by Peninsula College in Clallam EDC.
So what's next?
Yeah,
right?
that was really saying, hey, we know that this 5 years is going to be really impactful. We're going to put in the work to make sure that it is, but what's the next step?
Yes.
Where does this go from there? And so my guess is we're going to continue kind of having those thought leaders progress. I got to give a lot of credit to Susie Ames and Colleen McAleer for organizing that. It was a really impressive convening. Those are still kind of, I think, thoughts that are percolating.
All right. Well, it sounds like we'll have to probably some more updates coming, right? So please stay close, and when you have more announcements, especially of projects that are becoming public, we would love to share them.
Wonderful.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
And the public can stay informed and up to date through our website, recompetewa.org. You can sign up for our newsletter. We send that out once a month with updates. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn at recompetewa.
All right. Thank you so much, Carolyn Edge. It's great to have you here. She's the communications and media coordinator for this. Molly Pringle is the plan coordinator for Recompete in our area.
You.
Good to see you, Molly.
You
Thanks
too.
for coming in. And Mike French, Clallam County Commissioner, and still chairing the advisory board that has helped form all of this as well.
Thanks.
Thanks for coming in and a good update, I think, on some things that are happening economically here locally through Recompete. We're going to take a break and be back with more in just a moment.
This is the Todd Ortloff Show on News Radio KONP.
Looking for the next place to call home? Come to our Lavender Meadows in Sequim. Beautiful, affordable homes for active 55-plus adults. Our modern, low-maintenance homes give you more time to enjoy life. More than a home, you'll enjoy community, active lifestyle, value, and security. We're confident you'll appreciate the modern amenities too. Come to our Lavender Meadows in Sequim or online at lavendermeadowsmhc.com.
Hello, Clallam County. This is Danny with Harper Ridgeview and Sequim Valley Funeral Chapels. I recently had the opportunity to assist a very elderly but very energetic woman here in our county. She had in her possession her husband's remains, who had passed years prior. She sent us a letter asking if we could help her pre-need funeral and cemetery services for herself and her deceased husband. She'd been stressing and worrying for far too long, wondering what would happen when she passed. It was such a joy to help her finalize her plans. It was so easy too. She expressed to me over and over such feelings of peace and relief now that all that was taken care of. So let us help you today to achieve that same peace of mind by planning ahead, even if it is a simple plan. We're here to serve you. Harper Ridgeview and Sequim Valley Funeral Chapels, because your loved ones deserve the best.
Since 1945, News Radio KONP has been your source for news and community. We are News Radio KONP Port Angeles Sequim.
Bathfitter is celebrating over 42,000 installations in Western Washington. That's 42,000 bathrooms made safer and more stylish. And for a limited time, we're giving you up to $1,000 off your dream bath. Custom-fit tub and shower solutions are installed in as little as 1 day, with complete removal of your old setup. Every installation is backed by a lifetime warranty for total peace of mind. Visit bathfitternw.com to schedule a free consultation.
Olympic Hot Tub has more ways than ever to achieve total wellness at home. Immerse yourself in a saltwater hot spring spa and let jets melt stress away. Enjoy a refreshing swim in an endless pool swim spa. Retreat to healing warmth and detox in a Tilo sauna. Then awaken mind and body with a cold plunge. You'll be saying, ah, in no time. Your path to wellness starts today at Olympic Hot Tub. Current specials with exciting savings at olympichottub.com. Better you, better life.
Hey everybody, Todd here at Price Ford. And backed by popular demand, Ford has come out with the employee pricing for everyone. And I'm not talking about what I would pay as an employee, I'm talking about what the corporate employees pay. You can't buy a new Ford for less money. This offer covers almost every vehicle in the Ford lineup. So if you're in the market for a new Ford, hurry down to Price Ford right on Highway 101, right next to Walmart in Port Angeles, and we'll have a vehicle waiting for you.
Hi, it's Dan Shappy with Farmers Insurance. Community matters, and that's why we're proud to support Todd Ordloff and local voices that keep us connected. If you want insurance advice from real neighbors, stop by our office on Peabody Street. Real people helping real people right here at home.
Dan Shappy and Farmers Insurance is proud to sponsor the Todd Ortloff Show every Monday through Thursday at 1 p.m.
We are farmers. Bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum.
Underwritten by Farmers Truck Fire Insurance Exchanges and Affiliates. Products not available in every state.
Now, a word from our friends at the Eagles Club in Port Angeles. You know, they're always looking for new members, and with membership comes some pretty big perks, like discounted cover charges for events, live music, discounted facility rental, a whole lot more. They got a great bar, great food and snack options every day, and the friendliest service around. The Eagles Club offers something every day of the week, and you know, it's football season, so check out Seahawk game day parties, 50-50s, paddle wheel, a whole potluck as well. Tuesdays, poker, 6 p.m. with a $20 buy-in. You must be signed in by a member. And Wednesdays, the Imperfectionists Music Jam Session is free. You got to be signed in by a member for that as well. Thursdays, Barstool Bingo starts up at 6 p.m. Sales start at 5:30. And Fridays, they have the Queen of Hearts raffle for members only with a current jackpot of over $8,000. Saturday evenings are for live music with some talented local bands. And on Sundays, they serve up breakfast open to the public, 9:30 until noon. Find out more by becoming an Eagles member today. Stop in or call 360-452-3344.
This is the Todd Ortloff Show on News Radio KONP.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. After weeks of stalled talks between the U.S. and Iran, President Trump once again announcing a deal is close. Here's ABC's Stephen Portnoy.
Earlier today, the president said in a social media post that he had canceled what he called the scheduled strikes and bombings against Iran for this evening. He said that discussion and final points have been in both concept and great detail, approved by all parties involved. He went on to name other countries in the region, but not Iran.
A source with knowledge of the negotiations tells ABC News the deal is very close as mediators have hit some breakthroughs. Separate efforts in the House and Senate failing today to pass short-term extensions of FISA authorizations ahead of tomorrow's deadline. Secretary of State Marco Rubio announced the U.S. will sanction Cuba's state-owned gas and oil company, alleging that Cuba's government is using it as a tool of repression and self-serving the regime. And stocks soaring and oil prices fell today on word the U.S. and Iran may close in on a deal. This is ABC.
All right, welcome back to the program. Imagine riding every ferry route in the state ferry system in one day. Well, my next guest is a guy I've had on a couple of times before, former educator and also now in his life, I guess he's a ferry traveler and an author now, so retirement has got you busy and all sorts of other things, yes, too. Mike Nolan is back. Hi, Mike. Good to see you again.
Hi, Todd. Thanks for having me on.
Last time we talked, it was somewhat about seafaring because we were talking about hard hat days and your days as a youngster going through the shipyard days, yes. But this one is actually about riding ferries. And you had an article that came out in the Seattle Times last month that you wrote about this trip that you and your wife Ann put together. Now, this happened 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So tell us a bit. First of all, I got to ask, how did you come up with this idea?
You know, I was just looking at the ferry schedule, and you're probably familiar with the map they have. It's sort of a stylized map of all the routes. And you start looking at them and thinking about, well, this one we ride all the time, but this one I've never been on. And how many are there? And you start considering, I wonder if it's possible to travel on all these in one day. And we're both people that like puzzles, I guess, because you look at it and you think, okay, Puget Sound running north and south, basically, and a lot of the routes are perpendicular to that. They're crossing it. So, Seattle, Bremerton, and Bainbridge Island, Seattle, Edmonds, Kingston, like that. And so you start thinking, maybe we started at one end and worked our way either north to south or south to north, worked all the way through it. I wonder if we could do it. And then you look at the schedule and you say, well, the very last ferry that we would take would be, let's say, up in the San Juans, because that would be the longest one. Now, when's the last departure? And if we did that, we'd begin in the south, down there in Tacoma by Point Defiance. So when does that one begin? 5:05, it turns out. And so we put this together, and then you have to add in, of course, what's the driving time in between the ferries. I mean, and this is if it all comes off without a hitch. And we wrote it all out on paper, and we said, yeah, I think it's possible to do all these in one day. Of course, then you have to put it to the test, and Anne was game. She was going to be the co-pilot. I was going to drive, and I said, you just have to tell me when to turn and where to go, because I'm just going to be driving. And we picked a day. I think it was a Friday, and we said, okay, we're going to do this. And Todd, we left the house at 2:30 in the morning so that we'd be there in time for the 5:05 at Point Defiance, and actually did really well. We were about halfway through. Let's see, we did Bremerton and then Bainbridge coming back to Seattle. Then we were heading north on I-5, and this was all real familiar terrain. We knew about the exit for the Edmonds Ferry, except this day there was construction going on, and as we were approaching, the thing is, I didn't want to. You can't go over the speed limit because that'd be cheating, So, but you're not wasting any time either because you don't have any time to waste. So you're really going. And I said, okay, this is our exit. And I said, oh, well, look, there's construction going on. And we couldn't quite tell between the orange cones where you were supposed to turn until, oh, I missed it. And then all of a sudden we're north on I-5 again and doubling back. And like I said, it was a Friday, and by now it's Friday afternoon. So
it was starting to get a little rough.
You know how that could be with Edmonds, yeah. So we got on the next ferry, but that put us one behind. And I remember Ann taking out her phone and checking Port Townsend, which, again, on a weekend, you needed reservations because that was full up. And she said, we're not going to be able to do it. We can't. We didn't make it. And I thought Ann would say, okay, we tried. We couldn't do it, even though I wanted to try again. But Ann really rose to the occasion. I think her competitive nature came out and said, well, I've got some ideas. We're going to do this on a Wednesday instead of a Friday.
So she'd already figured out that's how we're going to do this next time. Yeah.
Yeah. And so there we were. Next week we were back there. And again, early morning start. Yeah. And this time we put it together, although there were still hurdles. Like I remember coming out of Fauntleroy. Well, let me back up a little bit. Some of these routes we did as foot passengers because when you were strategizing and looking at how can we do all these, you didn't want to backtrack if you could help it. But if you could be a foot passenger, like on that last route, it's a lot easier to be a foot passenger than to drive your car on, for the Inter-Island Ferry up in the San Juans. Or Fauntleroy, that goes to Southworth and Vashon, then back to Fauntleroy. So if you could just do that as a foot passenger, then it saves you driving on and off quicker.
Right.
Yeah. You take
you just take a little loop, and then you're back in your car.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. So we had this all figured out, and the second time through, put it together. But still, you are sort of tense because you don't have a minute to spare. And I remember coming out of Fauntleroy and driving through that industrial section. Maybe you've been down there. You're trying to get to the West Seattle Bridge. And Todd, we did this both times. We made a mistake on this one interchange where it's supposed to be trucks only. And Ann said, no, you did it again. You're on the wrong road. This is trucks only. And, of course, there's a camera there. And 3 days later, we got a ticket in the mail.
Of course you did.
Yeah, trucks only. And we managed to drive down. Although we did make it to the ferry on time. Down there to Coleman Dock so it was a real adventure.
So you tried it once on a Friday, and the next Wednesday you were back out doing it again.
Yeah,
and that's the one that made it.
That's the one that I actually wrote about because this was all. I think in the Times the editor put 10 routes, but actually it's 13 when you think of coming out of Anacortes. And you go, Shaw Island and Lopez.
Right, because you could technically catch that ferry in different spots.
Yes, yeah. So
right.
I looked at them as all these different routes. And anyway, I thought of it as 13 routes. And I guess, fortunately, that one line they've got going up to BC, that wasn't operating. So we didn't have to count that as one of our ferries that we were trying to do. Yeah,
I don't know if you could have done that.
No, I don't know. It was
such an odd schedule that one, and you got kind of like one shot at getting that one.
Exactly,
right,
yeah. So the second time through, we did put it all together. It was a mixture of this sort of intense driving, and then all of a sudden you're on the ferry, like the ferry to Bremerton. Now that ferry, that's an hour-long ride. And you can relax, you look around and you're looking at Mount Rainier. It's a beautiful day that day. You're looking at Rainier, or just when you're watching the ferry pull out, and it's sort of that iconic view of downtown Seattle. And then all of a sudden, okay, this is why we love living here. It's so pretty. Or that route, Edmonds, Kingston? Gosh, it's so pretty. You get out there on the water and you can see the Cascades over to one side and the Olympics over on the other, and you're thinking, boy, we're lucky to live in just this beautiful little corner of the world.
By doing all these routes, though, I mean, you got to take a look at all of this scenery from a lot of angles that we normally don't see. I mean, we were talking before we went on the air. We're all familiar with Edmund Kingston and the Bainbridge Island Ferry and maybe the Port Townsend Ferry. Those are kind of the ones we do around here mostly. Maybe a Bremerton run once in a while.
Right.
But, we don't pop on to Mukilteo.
No, and we hadn't seen that new terminal at Mukilteo. And actually, when we were doing the ride, Anne would say, gosh, Fauntleroy, we should come back here sometime. This is a lovely neighborhood. Or we've never been, Point Defiance, boy, this is really pretty. And so there were other places, or even places that we know of. And like Port Townsend, we ended up with, I think, about a 20-minute wait until we sailed. And it was the same thing, it's a lovely waterfront. You think we're going to come back here and spend some more time. So there was a lot of that in the.
What did you learn about? First of all, did you have a favorite boat? Out of all of them that were that day.
I think my favorite overall is that ride up in the San Juan Islands. Although this time when we were riding it, I think we boarded at something like 9 o'clock because it was the very last sailing, and so it was dark. But I know normally, when we're on that ride, gosh, I love all the little islands. A lot of them are uninhabited, and you look at the evergreens; they grow right down to the water's edge. And the main stops, the big islands, but there are all these other little islands you go by, and it's just lovely. I think that one, really is one of my favorite routes.
What time of year did you do this? Was this summertime?
About this time of year.
Okay, so spring.
Springtime.
So weather was just. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it was
and not a lot of tourists quite yet.
Not yet. Yeah, that helped too. And I should tell you one other thing, if I can add this, because I didn't put it in the story for the Times, but on that last leg, let's see, we had an hour-long drive up to Anacortes from the Seattle area, and so we knew we were going to make it. And for some reason, during that drive, I became ill. And it was strange. I got real cold, and so much so that I had to stop and put on a sweater. And then we kept driving, and pretty soon my teeth are chattering, my hands are shaking. This was the strangest thing. I put on a jacket over the sweater, and Anne is saying, "I don't know if we should get on the ferry. I don't know if there's an emergency room on some of these islands. I mean, I don't know if we should." And she's kind of desperate to get a solution, so she Googles. My husband is cold, and Google answers, then you probably need to work on your relationship and your intimacy, and you need to let your husband know that you really listen to him and you care about his thoughts. And Anne's pulling her hair out at that point.
way. Come on, yeah.
She calls her sister-in-law, who's a physician, and goes over the symptoms, and she says, "Okay, I don't think Mike's going to die. I think you're okay to ride on the ferry." And we pile on the Anacortes ferry. And I remember lying down on one of those bench seats, on the ferry, and Anne's taking all the jackets and putting them over me. So I'm like under a little igloo with my head sticking out. And Anne is doing laps on the ferry deck. She had started this in the morning. She said, I'm not going to get in my steps today because we knew this would be an all day thing, and she's
into that, right?
She's into that.
Yeah.
You know people like that. They check their steps every day, as Ann does, and she's so good about it. And so when we started at Point Defiance, she said, we've got 15 minutes here in the parking lot. I'm just going to get a couple laps. And then she kept doing this, and she's checking it on her watch. And by the time we were on that inter-island ferry in the San Juans, she said, I don't believe it. Look at this. I'm getting in. And she was up to 26 miles. She got 26.2 miles. She got a marathon in that day.
And while you were riding the ferries all over the state.
Either parking lots or mostly on ferry decks. And so that's
a couple
what she
of their
did.
long routes. So she's out there an hour plus. Yeah. Right.
And the very last one, she was doing laps, and she would look in on me. There I am under all the jackets, shivering. But yeah, we made that last one. I was able to walk off the ferry, and we just high-fived each other. We did it. I can't believe it. All in one day. I think we ended up there maybe 11:30. I know it was about a half hour before midnight, and we had completed it.
Okay, so it's almost midnight. You had started at 2 in the morning, though.
Yes, started at 2 in the morning at our house.
20-hour day, basically, of this as well. I'm fascinated that you figured out how to do a way where you can catch all these ferries. Pretty much you'd have to almost be going from one right onto the not much of a wait between them.
Yes, that's how it was until we headed up to Port Townsend. Then we knew we probably had it in the bag unless we got a flat tire or a speeding ticket or something.
Right.
Yeah, so
was there anything that you noticed different about, I guess, the vibe on cruise or anything on different ferries when you were on there?
Well, I think probably what
a little more
we've
laid back,
seen.
maybe.
Yeah, I think Port Townsend is more laid back. Certainly, when we got on that ferry at Point Defiance, where are you going to? Tahlequah, I think this is the connecting port. That's the first sailing. There were no other foot passengers, and there were only a handful of cars there. So, of course, you get to chat with the crew, and I told them what we were doing that day, and they said, hey, that's a great idea. Oh, I should try that, and they were real supportive and encouraging.
Did the state ferry system ever contact you after getting wind of this?
Not yet. We'll see.
Yeah, now
we'll
that this article came out, because I'm thinking you may become a ferry system ambassador. Just another thing for you to do in retirement.
There you go.
But there was, you probably white-knuckled it a few times trying to get from a couple of those, especially in the Central Sound area, right?
Yes, definitely. And you knew there wasn't a moment to lose, but at the same time, you didn't dare take a wrong turn. That's what sunk us on the first attempt, because if you get one ferry out of the sequence, then you can't do it.
So take us through the zigzag you had to have done when you've got the Seattle runs and then up. So you went up to Coleman Dock and caught a ferry there over to Bremerton. Is that okay?
Yeah, that long ride to Bremerton, and then we drove up 3 and went to Bainbridge Island, and then we're back in Seattle, back to Coleman Dock.
Okay.
And then we head north and did that was the Edmonds Kingston link, and then from there it's like we were heading back home, except we went up to Port Townsend, and then went up to Whidbey Island, and so that's Port Townsend, Coupeville, and then down to Clinton, and to that we mentioned that. It's a lovely new terminal in Mukilteo.
Yeah. Okay.
And
so that hopped you back to I-5
Then we're back on I-5 again. Yeah. Okay. And excuse me. By then we knew we're going to do this. We're going to make it. But of course, then I, for some reason, got sick. We still can't figure out what I had or what caused that. But
it may have been pure exhaustion.
Probably that and nerves, I think, because you don't usually. I mean, you might drive like that to one ferry. We've all done that, and we're thinking we're going to make it. We're going to make it. And you're either going to be, the very last, ferry on board, or the very first, car not to get on board. So
now, this was also a little bit of a financial investment, right? Because that's, I mean, anybody that rides the ferry, it costs you, a passenger and driver and a driver and a passenger.
It did help that we're both retired and we had the senior rate on all of these ferries. Still, it was a little bit of an investment. It helped that too that 3 of the routes we were foot passengers, so we weren't taking the car. But I think I added it up once we finished. I don't know, 120, something like that.
Well, that's not too bad, I guess.
A little over $100. Well, that's a splurge for an adventure for a day. But it was just so unique, and again, so lovely because it was a nice day, and you're just reminded of all those places you enjoy around Puget Sound,
As you were planning this out, you never know what the weather's going to be.
No.
And so that's playing in the back of your mind. It's like, oh, it's just going to be a really rotten day out there.
Yeah, because you just look forward to, on the longer routes, getting out of the car and walking along the deck. And then, you know, how all of a sudden you realize you've been tense that whole time driving, and you can sort of shed some of that, you know, like you know, a second skin you get to peel off. And fortunately, it was lovely weather, and we were able to do that.
Because it's risky on that Port Townsend run. That thing, if you have any little bit of wind,
that's right. Between wind and tides, you know, there have been a couple times where they said, "Oh, it's not running because the tide's too low, and they can't, you know, pony up to the dock like they need to." So yeah, everything was in our favor. All of the, you know, we've all either had to wait for the Hood Canal Bridge to
there's another one,
let us through, or a ferry was running late. The travel gods were smiling on us that day because all the ferries were running right on time and just seemed to be suited to our needs that day.
Would you do it again?
Oh gosh, in a heartbeat.
Really? Okay.
It was so much. Just
well, now you know how to
fun.
do it. It might be. You could set up a tour. You know, you can take people on ride every ferry.
Oh yeah, gosh. On a nice day, it's it's just so much fun. It's lovely.
On those Seattle runs, on like the Bainbridge run, was that during rush hour? Were you on there at a busy time or not?
Yeah, by then it was a little later in the day, and
okay.
But we had it again. We had it timed out. We didn't take any wrong turns. We took the wrong road and received a ticket for it, but we didn't take any wrong turns, and everything fell into place.
And you may have been going the right direction on the routes too, right?
That. Yeah,
you could reverse commuting essentially with some of those, I would imagine. So.
Exactly.
Well, I encourage people get to the Seattle Times, go onto their website. You can look this up and read this great article that Mike wrote about this adventure.
Thank you.
He's 13. I'm going to go with your number.
That's right.
13 routes.
13 routes.
Washington State ferries. Because let's give you credit where credit's due. You had there were places that stopped, and those count.
That's right.
All in one day, and a chance to experience the entire system of the Washington State ferries. How about that?
It was fun.
Yeah.
Fun
All right.
time.
All right, Mike, I'll be waiting for the next adventure.
Okay, Todd, thanks
We'll
so
get
much.
you back for that.
Thanks for
Mike
having me
Nolan,
on.
Port Angeles resident here and an author, former educator as well, and always fun to chat with him. We're going to take a break and wrap things up on our show right after this.
This is the Todd Ortloff Show on News Radio KONP.
Hi, it's Dan Shappy with Farmers Insurance. Ever call somewhere and get stuck in a phone maze so long you start questioning your life choices?
Press 1 to speak to a robot. Press 2 to be routed to the number 4 button. Press 3 to be disconnected inexplicably.
Yeah, we don't do that. We're right here in Port Angeles at 405 South Peabody Street. You need help? Just stop in. We'll look up, smile, and actually talk with you. Farmers Insurance, here when you need us.
We are farmers. Bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum.
Underwritten by Farmers Truck Fire Insurance Exchanges and Affiliates. Products not available in every state.
Visit A1 Auto Parts in Sequim and get ready to cruise, no matter where the road or water takes you. A1 Auto Parts in Marine has a wide selection of marine, auto, and trailer supplies, plus expert knowledge to ensure smooth sailing. A1 Auto even custom makes hydraulic hoses while you wait. Whether land or sea, rely on A1 Auto Parts in Marine and Sequim, right across from Sunshine Cafe Sequim.
Peninsula Bottling would like to congratulate the class of 2026. We wish you the best on your new path. Whether you stay right here at home or your plans take you somewhere new, know that we're proud of what you've done so far and what you're sure to pursue. And if you veer off course, remember that life is constantly throwing us curveballs. It will happen, and you'll be better and stronger because of it. Congratulations again from your friends at Peninsula Bottling.
It's time for your monthly Market Minute with critical insights from local real estate pro May Graves.
When getting your home ready for the market, make sure you do the following to sell faster. One little home selling hack almost nobody thinks of when they list their house. If you have a little covered space outdoors, really put some time and effort into making that an oasis. It could be your front porch, it could be the back porch, maybe a gazebo. Bring in some plants, bring in an area rug, a seating arrangement, maybe a little water feature, a fire pit, even those flicker candles with the batteries. You get the idea. It doesn't have to cost a lot, but everyone wants a little oasis when they get home from a busy day. A place to wind down with a beverage, maybe some music. Make sure to capitalize on that space. It's like adding garnish to a steak. If you want more information on buying or selling real estate in Port Angeles and Sequim, call me. It's May Graves, Realtor, 360-461-1922.
End-of-life decisions are hard. Be it pre-planning or sudden loss, you need to have an advocate in your corner, which is why I wholeheartedly recommend Drennan and Ford Funeral Home and Crematory in Port Angeles, the only locally owned funeral home and crematory in Clallam County. Their expertise ensures a smooth process so you can focus on healing and being with your loved ones. Their help through the darkest time in my life will forever stay with me. Call 360-457-1210.
The Olympic Game Farm would like to say hats off to the class of 2026. You have your entire future ahead of you. These next few years will fly by. In the blink of an eye, you'll have careers and maybe a family. You might end up exactly where you dreamed, but some of you will be doing something you never expected. No matter where this journey takes you, remember to be true to yourself. Life is hard, but it will be beautiful. Congratulations, graduates!
Jumpstart your exterior home project. Give Tri-State a call. Are you thinking about a new roof, siding, or windows for your home? Tri-State installs GAF roofing products, James Hardy siding, and Pella window replacements. And right now, Tri-State's offering huge savings. Call today for your free estimate. 360-208-2222.
Tri-State Roofing, we got you covered.
Hi, I'm Dr. Colin Wolslegel, a gastroenterologist at Olympic Medical Center. We're seeing incredible advances in how we treat digestive issues using therapeutic endoscopy, often avoiding the need for traditional surgery. Join me for a free presentation on Thursday, June 18th at 5:30 p.m. in Seasons Cafe at Olympic Memorial Hospital. We'll cover everything from routine screenings to these new therapeutic approaches. Get all the details at olympicmedical.org/healthmatters.
We are paying 14% of our income in taxes, while the super rich are paying 4%. That's backwards.
That's why we came together to win a millionaire's tax this year.
That means more money for schooling kids. It means parents pay less for diapers.
Small business gets a tax break.
It means the super rich have to pay their share.
Blue Collar, we have each other's backs. BlueCollarUnity.org.
Paid for by Firelands Workers Building Community Power.
Planning to do a remodel or demolition of a structure? Call Orca before you begin. Asbestos can be found in any building, no matter its age. You can even find asbestos-containing materials in new products to protect the health of anyone who will be in that building or on the lot in the future. Most demolition and renovation projects require an asbestos survey and notification of your action. Visit orca.org for details. That's ORCAA.org.
At Olympic Peninsula Title, good old-fashioned customer service never goes out of style. We've been closing real estate transactions in Clallam County for over 40 years and have earned the repeat business of our customers because we treat people with respect, put the security of our customers' funds and information as priority number one, and always provide service with a smile. When it's time to choose a title company to close your transaction, opt for Olympic Peninsula Title and see why we've been voted the best title company in Clallam County over and over again.
The North Olympic Peninsula's news station, News Radio KONP Port Angeles Squim, AM 1450, FM 101.7 and 101.3, a Radio Pacific station.
From ABC News, I'm Lindsay Davis, anchor of Prime, streaming weeknights on ABC News Live. The 3-month-long war with Iran and recent escalations despite a ceasefire could give way to a permanent deal. President Trump says leaders have approved final points on a peace agreement and says he's calling off tonight's scheduled strikes against Iran. ABC's Stephen Portnoy has more.
What we heard the president say is that he has just spoken to the Prime Minister of Israel, the heads of Qatar, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, will soon be talking to Turkey. He said the Strait of Hormuz will be open. He mentioned that the U.S. has been engaged in what had been secret missions to take ships, oil tankers, out of the Strait of Hormuz transiting them through to the global marketplace.
A source with knowledge of the negotiations tells ABC News the deal is very close as mediators hit some breakthroughs. On the heels of this week's inflation report showing consumer prices are at a 3-year high, the Producer Price Index shows wholesale prices jumped 6.5% in May from the previous year. President Trump has nominated former SEC Chair Jay Clayton to be the next Director of National Intelligence. Current Acting Director Bill Pulte has received bipartisan backlash, including House and Senate lawmakers rejecting measures to extend FISA's wiretap tool to monitor foreign threats. Democratic Senator Adam Schiff on Clayton's nomination.
It doesn't solve the Pulte problem. It doesn't solve the 702 problem. Simply naming Jay Clayton, but I'm sure that Clayton will eventually be given fair consideration.
FISA 702 expires tomorrow. Celebrations in New York City over the New York Knicks' Game 4 win against the San Antonio Spurs last night led to unrest outside Madison Square Garden. The NYPD says they arrested more than 50 people. Game 5 is Saturday. And the FIFA World Cup kicked off today with Mexico taking on South Africa in the first match in Mexico City. It all leads up to tomorrow night's match in Los Angeles between the U.S. and Paraguay. The U.S., Mexico, and Canada are hosting the World Cup. You're listening to ABC News.
I know that hiring can be challenging. You sort through tons of resumes and you get too many so-so applicants. You're just waiting for someone to match your role perfectly. Well, now, there's a place where you can meet them fast. ZipRecruiter.
Need to hire right away. Start your search for strong candidates. The right fit awaits. Build your team. Build it sooner. Meet your match on ZipRecruiter.
Just head to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try it for free. And you're on your way to meeting your match. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. So try it now. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Meet your match on ZipRecruiter. Try it free.
I'm Lindsay Davis. For the latest on today's headlines, be sure to watch Prime tonight, starting at 7 Eastern on ABC News Live. Now with more news, here's Michelle Franzen.
The Pentagon gave the all clear after hazmat crews responded today to a potential air quality issue at the high-secured facility. The incident triggered by sophisticated sensors in certain sections, leading officials to issue a partial lockdown. Pentagon officials called it a false alarm. ABC's Alex Perche is outside the Pentagon.
It was a shelter in place. There were no evacuations here, according to those sources that talked to ABC News. The other thing that we learned is that for the vast majority of the Pentagon, which there's some 23,000 folks that work here, it was business as usual.
Language can oftentimes be a barrier between police and those on scene of a crime. Now one community has introduced something that can help.
In Renton, Washington, police officers have a new tool aimed at improving communication during encounters with those who don't speak English. This is what it sounds like.
Language set to Spanish.
Hello, I'm Officer